Press record.
Thanks. Okay, good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to the NALA webinar. We're delighted to have Peter Sheekey from the Intercultural Language Service, who's going to talk you through using a real-world language portfolio. My name is Fergus Dolan from NALA, and I'm going to mute myself in a second, cut off my camera so that you can just hear Peter and see Peter. Just if you've joined in the last minute or two, I just want to repeat what we said about questions. So Peter will present for 20 or 25 minutes, and then we'll have questions and answers. So how we're asking you to do the questions is through the questions box. So if you can't see that, you can open out your dashboard or toolbar by clicking on the orange box with the white arrow in it. That opens out the dashboard, and you can then go down to the bottom, near the bottom you see the option questions. So if you go over from questions, you see a little box with an arrow pointing upwards. If you click on that box, it opens out your questions into the center of your screen, and you can write in your questions for Peter. At the end, I'll call them out. Everybody's muted just so that nobody interferes with Peter. So that's where we're going to do it. So I'll hand it over to you, Peter. Good luck.
All right, thanks a million, Fergus. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Sheekey. I'm from Dublin, and I've been working with refugees and migrants as a teacher and researcher for 17 years. The materials, just to say, the materials we'll be looking at today are all available on the website. They're all open source, and I'll be walking you through that, the portfolio and the relevant materials to that portfolio. I'll be explaining a little bit about its origins, and I'll be talking about how the portfolio can be used, and then we may look at portfolios in general. But anyway, we'll start with our website. Everything is available, as I said, on our website, so we're going to have a look at that. It's the interculturallanguageservice.com is the website. Fergus will send you the links to this website. So this is our school in Ballybock in Dublin, and it was set up on foot of my doctoral research that revealed that a lot of people couldn't access, a lot of migrants and refugees could not access mainstream education. So we set up a drop-in centre in a basketball court in Ballybock, and you can see it there. We have maybe 45 different nationalities there, and we use the portfolio there with some learners. Some teachers use it, some teachers don't, but the portfolio is targeted for this group, and it's part of a research for this group. If you are looking to give your students a test, there is a quick English test on our webpage. I would also draw your attention. We will go to the portfolio, but we have also an interesting page for students. You may want your students to use the students links. This is all on our website, and it's information about living in Ireland, finding your way around Dublin. But maybe this might be interesting: English test and online learning. So we have an English test, which doesn't seem to be opening today for some reason. That's not doing it. We'll try that again. There she is. I designed this a number of years ago, and this has an English test here, and it has an interpretation of that English test. It's an online test, which will give you a ballpark of CEFR figures. If you're not familiar with CEFR, you might want, I will show you a few links for that later. So that's student links, and there's lots of information there, helpful living in Ireland, helpful looking for work. So just quickly showing you that students page there. Now, what we're really interested in today, and you go to the tutors link on our website. Links are slow on opening today. I don't know why that is. So this is our tutors links, and we'll be looking at using the portfolio, using ILS portfolio, and looking at some of these materials here. And this has links. I've spent many years gathering these links. It also has a number of links, a good number of links for teachers to help teachers in terms of pedagogy, in terms of meeting needs, etc. So it's got a lot of general ESOL links on it as well. Very many, all of them I've had a look at, and they're all ads free and reg free. So getting to the portfolio, these are the materials here at the different levels. We've also introduced a very basic level for beginners there, but we're interested in, we'll have a look at the A2 level. Now here, you have all of the materials that are connected to the portfolio, and I have copied in the grids for this level. Now, when I was designing this school and this portfolio, I thought of it three domains. So the public domain is the domain where you're dealing with public officials, doctors, landlords. So all of the materials in here are connected to that, explaining your symptoms to a doctor. The social domain is talking about our lives and our world and socializing with others. And of course, the domain of work, because 50% of our students don't have work or didn't have work before this current crisis. Now I'm just going to open up, these are the portfolio. This is part of the portfolio, the A2 part. And I redesigned the European portfolio and added in more real world problems. So this is social English, so talk about my hobbies and food, my routines, talk about phone problems. You can use this as a diagnostic tool where the students say, well, I need a lot of help with this. I can do it without help or without much help, and I can do this without any help. So you can use this. The portfolio is also a diagnostic tool. So here you have the three grids: public English, talking about house problems, writing a formal letter, talking about banks and money. So that's the public English. And then obviously work, places of work, parts of the CV. So these are real world tasks for the students. You'll notice that the descriptors, sorry, I'll bring that up again. The descriptors here, the descriptors are numbered. So you can get the students, when you're working with the students on this, each student has a copy of the portfolio. You can say, okay, guys, which one of these has more priorities? You can use it as a needs analysis. So it can be a diagnostic, and it can be used as a needs analysis where you ask students, okay, what are the priorities here? Social English, work, or public English? And then within those domains, which ones do you want to work on here? And perhaps there are other ones that are connected to social English that they want to learn how to do. So it's and they are numbered. So the reason they are numbered is if I go into social English and these are all open source, they're all downloadable. You can download all of these materials. So there we have our materials for socializing in English. And you can see that they're numbered D1. So that's descriptor 1. Here's D2, it's descriptor 2. So they match the parts of the portfolio. And these materials then match that task. And the materials are self-explanatory in the sense that the tasks are quite clear in what they have to do. Here you can see that it's simple, filling the gaps there, identifying parts of the house. Here it goes on to morning routine. So we have all the verbs there connected to morning routines. And then we have some sentences about our morning routine. So that's connected to their social life, and daily routines is a lot. What you did at the weekend, telephones, talking about their pasts, talking about living in Ireland. So all of those materials are there and ready to go, and they're all on the tutors link. They're all here on the tutors links page on the website. So you have A2, B1, B2 worksheets. There's stuff on intercultural awareness, jobs and work. And I've also loaded on this page a lot of books, the grammar books there, and background reading for teachers, levels and tests. But we're going to go back to using the portfolio and have a look at this. This is where you'll be learning how to, what the portfolio is about and how to use it. And I'll just show you what we have here. My English portfolio, this is the actual portfolio itself. There is a handbook beside it, so learning how to use it, the reasons for the rationale for the portfolio, and more information. You should, I presume you're all familiar with the CEF4, but there is an introduction to CEF4 here with a lot of links explaining the CEF4. This is very useful where you have videos of examples of CEF4 levels and a sample CEF4 test. So if you're not familiar with the CEF4, you can start there, but I'm sure many of you are. I'm just going to go through the kind of features of the portfolio itself briefly. I'm not going to kind of dwell on some parts of this. So the reasons for we're using the portfolio is it's a drop-in center. So there's a lot of comings and goings, and it offers a series of challenges in delivering real-world language. So the portfolio was for dealing with individual learners' needs, providing continuity to language content and the development of the learner, developing learner autonomy. It's used for tracking progress, so you can the learner owns the portfolio, and you can check it every now and again, review it with them, and see where they are, and you can keep a record of significant learning events. So learners, the portfolio is in 3 parts. Learners express their past, present, and future linguistic identities. They negotiate and keep track. They can plan futures. They can promote independent, and it supports self-assessment so they can become effective learners. Now, the portfolio is in 3 parts. The first part of the portfolio is kind of personal identification, and this is on the first thing they will see in their portfolio, and it identifies who they are and a little bit about their Irish experience. We use this as an entry written test as well in our school. So the first part, second part is my language biography. Learners talk about their history. They identify language competences, and they compare lives in the home and the host country. So here you can see a learner's example, and she comes from Sudan. These are the other languages she can speak. So this identifies her language biography. There's a simple self-assessment for English there, and here she's comparing the country she's been in and Ireland, and so she's comparing those 2 things. The cultural awareness section is self-explanatory. They compare cultural differences, and they identify learning styles. So my expectations of this course. So that's the first 2 parts. The heart of the portfolio, and the part that I've already shown you in the A2 section there are 4 levels now, A1 to B2. The 3 modules of and domains we've talked about: social, public, and work. It's a needs analysis, and you can negotiate on a daily basis. It tracks learning, and it can be used for setting goals, as we've said. So here we see an example from a learner's portfolio, and that's in the public domain, and you can see immediately where they are with those particular tasks. I would prefer actually if students use the date here. They wrote in a date, and that way we can track it better. But here we can identify where the learner is at. And for here we can see help problems. So there is a matching worksheet that student has done for that particular descriptor. And and so that's an outline of the actual portfolio itself. There is also a short article here. If you are not familiar with portfolios, there's a short article which will introduce you to using portfolios with the language learner. You can consult that yourself. Just briefly, if you are using the portfolio or these materials in the way that we use them, because we're a drop-in center, we can't have a fixed curriculum. So what we do is many times we're producing a lesson on the day, negotiated with the learner. They're just some kind of golden rules which you should be familiar with. But when we're dealing with type of learners we're used to, they have real world problems. So before we do any lesson, we should kind of reflect on a few questions. Why is this material relevant to our learners? Is it connected to something they need? What is the topic or the focus of the lesson? What are the tasks involved? What aspects of language are targeted, and what outcomes are possible? And what follow-ups are possible? When we say follow-ups, we mean maybe it's a homework or maybe another task that they may do outside. When you're facilitating the portfolio, there's some kind of, I think you can read this, I'm not going to go through this, a lot of it's kind of common sense, but that's the portfolio. I'm going to show you actually the full portfolio. We'll just scroll through it briefly. So I'll be showing you sections of it there. There's the personal identification. Talking about their Irish experience gives them a more holistic picture of where these learners are at. And then you go into the biography, the language biography part, and you've seen this already, linguistic identification, and here language proficiency in different languages. So that's the first part of it. There's some very useful parts of this. Using timelines is a good idea when we're talking about past, present, and future. So you can that uses timelines, and then there's a self-assessment. The language biography, again, expectations of the course, cultural awareness, ways I learn best, and learning outside school. And then we come to the kind of center of the portfolio, and here we have our friend, the A2 section, and it's you can see the tasks there and how we can use that. So the portfolio was redeveloped because the original portfolio was the European language portfolio, which I've used at the start of this portfolio, but the descriptors in it, the tasks, were very difficult sometimes for teachers to understand what was being done. So the learners were having problems. So I've simplified the European language portfolio, and it's all there on that page. So going back to our tutors page, all of these materials, so you start by using the portfolio, and then you can start looking at the worksheets that are connected into the portfolio itself. We do have tutor training here and some levels and tests. The levels and tests we'll have a quick look at. All of this is open source. So we have the CEFR grids in different languages here. We have a handbook here, and David Little's kind of a seminal work on meeting the needs of language refugees. Going back to our website, just to kind of a heads up, on the students links, on the students page, as with all pages that students are accessing, I've put in a Google Translate widget into that, and automatically. So if your students are very low level, they'll still be able to access and understand some of this in their own language. There was something. What we use also, we use an evaluation tool here for when students are leaving us. And there was also something I wanted to show on the main page. Here, there's a link to the CEFR. So under our little class here, you'll see these are the people we are working with. Okay, people with no other English classes, level A1 to B1 or B2. There is something useful here for you students. This is a link to an explanation of the CEFR in many different languages. So you might want to draw students' attention to this. If their language is represented here, they should be able to then understand if you're talking about the CEFR or if you're using the Common European Framework. There's a little link to it there on the main page. I wonder how we're doing for time here. I'm sure Fergus is listening and will tell me when we have reached our time limit.
You've plenty of time, Peter. Don't worry about time. Just keep going and tell them everything you want to tell them. Okay,
will do. So the tutors link is where all of that material is for you. Also on the tutors links page, just to show you here. So the useful websites for our tutors. So these are kind of current trends in pedagogy. There's some very good links here to webinars, other webinars. There is advice from people who have experience working with refugee backgrounds. There's lots of Council of Europe stuff here. Very good websites. This is a particularly good website, Language and Integration. I'm just going to show you this briefly because just to get an idea, there's a lot of support here for language teachers. So, you know, there's lots of good links there if you're just for generally about teaching. There's the European Centre for Modern Languages is a very good website. And here I have kind of got a lot of links for literacy, beginners, very good literacy for low level. We are beginning to get a lot of low level learners. We're very happy about that because they're the most excluded. There's lots, and then there's a lot of general ESOL sites which you can use. There's a lot of links to reading, ebooks there, and there's a lot of links to other pages that are sharing links too. So there's a lot of stuff here which I've been collecting possibly over the last 10 years. I've been building this site for 10 years, so you know, there's a lot in there. It's more like a database perhaps than an actual website, but so that's where it is. I just want to see if there's something else I can show you here about the portfolio itself. But you have a lot of resources there, and the whole idea is to have these as online resources. So you have a lot more resources in that button I've just clicked there, our portfolio and teaching materials. So there's other materials here, plain English guides, placement tests, English books, board games. There's any amount of stuff for basic literacy, and then the actual materials themselves are here. And Fergus would be happy to know we've got links to NALA books here, and NALA have done some excellent publications for ESOL learners, paving the way, the big picture, two great publications. So there's a lot of materials. These are really, really good and really relevant. Talking about real world, these are real world materials that NALA have produced. So it's targeted, the portfolio is targeted to the three domains, that is work, public, and social. The materials are all there alongside the portfolio. In each of those boxes with the B1, the A2, etc., you can open up, my computer is a little bit slow this morning, I don't know why that is, but anyway, bear with me. And again, you will find the grids we looked at earlier in each of those boxes, and you'll find the materials relevant to those grids. As we were looking at A2, this is B1, and again, this is open source. All the materials are there. They are all linked into the descriptors, and so you have any amount of materials to explore there. And as I said, the links on the bottom are links to endless resources on working with migrant and refugee learners, and could be used for working with any learners. So that's the portfolio, and that's our website, Intercultural Language Service. Everything is on the website. Everything is on the tutors link page, and if you want your students to use the student link, the student link is self-access. So the learners, if the learners are taking our test, or they want to, some of our students are using this at the moment. So if they go to the students page and they go to English test, the advantage of this particular test is they can take the test, they can self-assess their level, they get points at the end of the test, and then they're given it. And based on that assessment, there are websites here. So if I tested A2, I have linked in A2 websites for that learner. So they test and then they can self-access these. These are all links to many other links. So on the actual students page, if they want to do, you can get them to test them, and then they can happily go off and work on the levels that are appropriate to them. So the students page is very useful as well. So I think I'm going to leave it there, Fergus, and just see if everybody was able to kind of make any sense of that. If you can hear me.